Isn't that incredible? An example of the talent that Ringling College is putting out into the world. And it has been globally recognized. That video was selected for the 2013 SIGGRAPH Asia Computer Animation Festival. Testament to the kids that we have here in our backyard. As a Dutch conference, you'd probably expect that one of our speakers would be Dutch, right? Our next speaker, while she might be Dutch, she actually has a massive global reach as well. She studied design in the Netherlands and did a master's in London. She works from a studio in Amsterdam and used to have a gallery in Milan. Last year, she became Brazil's Designer of the Year. As a young designer, Pieke likes everything to be different. She likes to stop the process just down the path as the development of a design evolves. Her designs are never the same. She believes two people are never the same, so why should her designs be also? Talking to us today about controlled imperfection, I'd like to welcome to the stage Pieke.
Hello, everybody. Oh, maybe. It's the next slide. It's okay. It doesn't matter. So yeah, actually, I would like to let's start with the word freeze. It's maybe a little bit strange, but at the moment I have an exhibition, a solo exhibition at the Noord-Brabants Museum in the Netherlands. Nobody of you have probably heard of it, but it's a retrospective of my young career. And like maybe you have just heard, I work with materials and I try to create an environment where the material kind of like seeks its own shape. So I'm trained to be a designer, and as a designer normally you make beautiful sketches and you shape your environment, and then afterwards you have to translate it into material. But I kind of like prefer to work the other way around. So I tend to go to companies or factories, work with all sorts of people from all over the world and be inspired on the spot. So what I do, I set things in motion. So also materials that are not really flexible, so like metal, and often materials that are like crystal or glass. And this is an example. The exhibition shows a variety of projects of mine that are set into motion. This animation is slowly moving, and that's just an illustration of how, to explain how I kind of like freeze the moments that I like, hidden in a process. So for example, slowly it's evolving and changing, and maybe this is my perfect moment, so I say freeze. Okay, this is a bit of the process how I work. So I observe a situation, I observe the materials, the people, I experiment. I'm quite adventurous, so I do loads of tryouts, and even if things fail, I really don't care. You know, that's actually the way to make new things happen. You know, you have to dare, you have to challenge everything around you. So that's why I like surprises, and I'm quite a free bird, and have to be flexible. Oh, I don't know what's that. And I make use of natural forces. No people are the same. You won't even find two hairs on our head that are the same. And I wish our products would be a little bit like that as well. Because nowadays we live in a world where everything is mass-produced, the perfect thing. It's like a money-driven economy. But if you look at nature, everything that is produced is actually unique. And like us human beings, you know, so many of us in this space, but none of us are the same. So I'm really interested in organizing production ways that create unique pieces. This is how it started a few years back. It's called Crystal Virus. I was observing the production process of glass. I don't know if anybody is familiar with this technique, but you start with a hot bubble, and you on a long pipe, and you kind of like blow air into it, and slowly it enlarges, and the shape is actually all constantly changing. There's the glass blower, the master glass blower, that holds it into his hand. There's some paper in between it. And he has to prevent it from falling on the floor. So I was watching another designer making something, and I was completely amazed about the process of how the glass changed constantly its shape. But then it was dropped into a mold. The glass blower inflated it into the mold, opened the mold, and what was there was actually a really, really boring face, which had nothing to do with the natural quality of the glass itself. And I was really, really, really disappointed. So I thought, okay, if I'm going to do a project here, I want to set it free. The material just has to be itself. I just have to create a circumstance where it can kind of like, to his most extreme shapes, or I have to collaborate with the material rather than suppress it into this mold. So what I did, I actually just took some found objects, and I thought, okay, these are the molds and the glass. I just drop it onto it, and it flows wherever it wants to flow, and I'm directing the glass blower and actually the material at the moment. And what happens, then these things come out. It was actually, the idea was a series of vases that are all different and unique, and it copied the shapes that it was blown onto. So the table in this case is really on fire. It's like quite sensational. I have lots of production movies. If anybody is interested, I can show you afterwards, but we didn't have much time. Because for me, it's all about the process. So not just the final object, but also how is it made, and then you see basically how I look. This resulted into a nice body of work, and I started collecting funny other things to rest the crystal onto, and somehow it evolved into beautiful chairs. And I thought it's actually a very nice image that it comes together. I didn't know when I started that the glass actually fits, when it's made, it also fits like a puzzle onto it. So I decided to keep them together. Then I was contacted by Vitra. I don't know if you ever heard about Vitra. It's a very famous European design company that makes the most beautiful Charles and Ray Eames chairs, and we set them all on fire. And it resulted into this kind of production. This was in the very, very beginning of my career, but it's actually my career kind of like shoot off, or how did you say that? And it resulted into lots of different installations. This was actually, funny enough, on the seaside in the Netherlands. It's with water inside. It's reflecting the sea. It was opened by the Dutch Queen, and I have a picture which is unfortunately not in this slideshow, but she's like this. She really loved it, which was a very nice compliment. So it's this just a whole story. I'm still producing these objects. They're all one-offs. It's not possible to make, same. Oh, I have to go back. Same ones. Okay, so this is the start, and this was actually my introduction with glass. And while studying the glass, I kind of like became really kind of like professional in these kind of shapes. And I set them free, and this is more like an image. I tend to create very ordinary situations, and I like to surprise myself, first of all, but second of all, also the visitors and the people. This is an exhibition in the Grand Palais in Paris. This was another installation based on the same principle in Milan. Many stories to tell, but I also like if you just have your own idea about it. This was commissioned by the Groningen Museum, the Netherlands. So then actually we realized we became some kind of experts in making really very big fluid bubbles. And it maybe seems easy, but it's really, really difficult because they're the size. I think it's like this. And if you imagine a glass blower is just, you know, he has to handle everything with his with his body, and especially when the shapes are not straight, the gravity wants to pull it down constantly. So if you make these huge pieces, it's really, really, really hard and heavy. And after, they have to have this naturalness, because I really like to seek the shapes that are natural. This was for an exhibition in Kuwait. Yeah, I mean, Chanel number 5. I mean, it's such a perfect image, and I kind of like to distort it. So it's a limited edition for Chanel. Yeah, this is a nice project. And that's also this philosophy. The objects that surround us have the precision and the regularity of machine-made things. Our Western world became a world where everything has to fit in and function. We all benefit from this development in an enormous way, but a world like a machine leaves little room for wonder and poetry. I want to open up our evident world as I'm passionately curious and persistent to expose another unknown world. What is really, really lovely about my work, nowadays I'm able to work with really fantastic craft people or other industries that are able to do things that I actually can't. But I'm a director in the process. So I was invited for the Venice Biennale in 2013, which was really wonderful in Venice. I spent a lot of time there, and there you have the best glass blowers in the world. They tend to be. And while walking into Venice, it's this very romantic environment. You see these street lanterns, and I kind of like picture them becoming alive and setting the material free. So what we did, we created these lanterns, which are normally outside, but they now are moving and twisting into all sorts of directions. These are huge lanterns, or they're, I think, like almost 5 meters tall. And they're now onto a square in Venice, which is, I'm really very happy about it. They're totally in love. This one was at a solo exhibition in Miami, so maybe, who knows, you have been there. Design Miami, it's, I think, in 2013 in December. And I'm very proud to say that, so this one is on, we make a small series, five of these couples, different couples. And so one of them is on the square in Venice, and one of them is in front of the Vitra Design Museum. One is in front now of the Noord-Brabants Museum in the Netherlands. Funny enough, 2 of them have been sold here in America. So there's one left. So these are the people I work with, and I really love them. It's actually because they are my hands. So every time it's a long process to find the right people to work with. But if you get into it, then yeah, you get really kind of like a relationship. So this is my buddy, Sylvester. Yeah. This one was a really, really amazing job. It's solid steel. It was really difficult to make because it's twisted. Therefore, the mold consists out of 100 different parts. So really, really lots of work. It was a commission by a love hotel in Tokyo. So yeah, what to say? So even these 2 chairs, they became one. It's very funny. It's called Escher chair. It's two stacked onto one another, and they are melted together again. But it's impossible to see. Actually, it has only 7 legs. You know, normally it's 8, but you don't really understand how it positions. So if you have a closer look and you study it, you get really confused. Yeah. Gilde lamp, they are entangled and one gives the other its light. I have to look at the time, 5 minutes left. So what I did, it's like, I have a presentation of over 100 pictures. I was sure I was not going to make that. But as I am this spontaneous type, and I like to freeze the moment, I thought, okay, I have 5 minutes, and yeah, that's it. I will freeze that particular moment, and then I'm sure that's the perfect moment to stop this conversation. Res Sapiens is quite I think, quite an interesting project. It's this is in an exhibition in Milan. It's about technology. The funny thing is, this time I didn't design the looks of the lamp. It's actually an IKEA lamp. Do you have IKEA here? Oh, unfortunately. But the funny thing is that we designed this lamp from the inside. They're all programs, and mechanically they are able to move. And they're all connected to some place in the world, to Wikipedia. So when something happens in the world, then these lamps start to move, and they start to express emotions by physically interpreting. And the funny thing is, it's just an IKEA lamp, so the story is that you feel related to it. You might have one in your office, but now you probably have a different. You look at it differently. You're maybe a bit scared what it knows. One of them can read. Here, projects. So anyway, it's actually a little bit too complex story to explain, but. The technology that is behind is really interesting, and we're actually also developing it into other projects. But one of them, this one, we were commissioned by the Centre Pompidou in Paris. So this lamp is not an IKEA lamp, it's actually an evolution, and it's especially designed to move. We studied with the National Ballet the movements, so when it's sad, this lamp can really make beautiful expressions and emotions. Funny thing is, there's a screen which tells you what kind of emotion it is expressing. But I prefer not to know, because it's like watching your cat, you know? Sometimes it moves and it raises the tail and you're like, what's there? What's behind it? So yeah, it's a different way of communication, this project. But it's beautiful to watch. I had actually children coming to this show, and they start to stroke the head, and which is really strange for a metal thingy. Vapor. So I tend to really develop materials and the shapes. I worked here in a huge plastic extrusion company. And what we did, we didn't blow glass, but actually we blew plastic instead. So I rent part of this factory. That's what I do. And then I started experimenting with these huge machines and producing very different things than they normally do, but I like to challenge them. It's actually very hard on the beginning and very thin on the bottom, which makes that it can dance into the wind. There's actually, it's a nice movie, but we don't have time for it. Very, very short. Oh, the next slide. Yeah. Wonderlab. Yeah, it's a good name, no? It's a collaboration with other designers, Studio Job. Don't know if you ever heard of it, but perfect mixture. So this flashlight, I think it's the size is something like that. So the glass is massive. You cannot understand really how it's connected to the wall. You can switch it on and off. So 39 seconds to go. Let me see where we freeze. Melted bronze. Melted bronze is actually a really good freeze moment. It's a wax chair. So we did a series of wax chairs, and we put it into an oven, and it wants to melt and collapse. But we managed to find a perfect moment where he twists his legs in his shape, and then he freezes. And this moment, we cast into bronze. So all these chairs, they are different, and they're frozen into a different moment. And now it says, time is up. Okay, thank you very much.